Hello, my name is Victoria.
And my name's Megan.
Thank you for joining us today while we talk about the victorious National Supreme Racial Inequality Movement, better known as VNSRM. We will be exploring the topic of racial inequality, or in other words, the unfair treatment to certain people based on their race. We will be discussing what issues there are in the country right now and how our movements will impact them. Next, we will discuss what has been done in the past to try and fix these problems. And lastly, we will offer action plan alternatives that would help society solve this problem. We will cover what still needs to be done for the country in order to end racial discrimination once and for all. Discrimination can occur in all different races and can be executed in many different ways. First, we will hear from Ria. She will inform us about why racism is a problem today and how we plan to impact this issue.
Yeah, so basically with this policy, the issue that we are aiming to impact is one that is quite prominent in our society: racial inequality. Racial inequality is the unfair treatment and lack of opportunities for people based on their race. It has an extremely negative effect on the people it impacts. Racism is present in almost all aspects of our society. These normal opportunities that most people have, those minorities or racially discriminated groups of people don't. It brings up the question of why is it okay to treat one race as the inferior of another race? And many people have tried to answer that question. Most people only think of one type of racial inequality, but the fact is that racial inequality can be targeted towards any race. I know that there has been some action taken in the past to prevent racial inequality, but Naomi, I was wondering if you could share some more and elaborate.
I agree with you, and answering your question, I do think that in the past the U.S. government has created laws to help stop racial inequality. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 is a great example of this. This act helped stop racial inequality in education, the housing market, in voting rights, and in the general public. Another example of this is the Fair Housing Act. This act creates the housing market even more equal by honing in on the racial inequality in that area of life. An act that has been made recently is the No Fear Act. This act protects the rights of whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are people who tell the government or a group of people in charge about the violation of a law. In this case, the violated law is one that relates to racial inequality. This act protects whistleblowers' rights by making it so that the person who tells on the violator cannot be fired or hurt. That's why it is called the No Fear Act. The whistleblower is protected from fear. I still don't think that all those acts prevent this ever-growing problem.
Now we're going to go on to our next guest, Sasha.
And she will tell us what still needs to be done to solve this problem.
I still don't think that all those acts prevent this ever-growing problem. Still, more acts and policies need to be made so that racial inequality can be stopped completely. An example would be improving the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. This act mainly focuses on making all races having the same amount of pay from their jobs. We want to make sure that both females and males are focused on equally because not only females get treated unfairly. Different color males don't have the same pay as white males. When this does apply to females, the act should not be only focused on female gender but on both. This act helps keep the two genders equal and at the same time keeps all the races equal among the workplaces.
Now we're going to show you some examples of racial inequality
In the real world.
I really have to go to the bathroom, so I'm gonna go.
Hey, you can't go in there. That bathroom's white people only, and you're not white.
But I really have to go.
Well, too bad. Yeah. You're gonna get in trouble now. Oh no.
It's broken, Sarah. I can't fix it. Oh, are you tech support?
No, why would you think that?
Because you're Indian.
See, folks, this is an example of racial inequality.
Now that we have heard from everyone today, we will hear from Megan to close off the segment.
Alright, so racial inequality is a monumental problem. People might think that this is an issue of the past, but it is actually still an incredibly prominent problem in today's society. It is essentially the unfair treatment or lack of opportunities for different people based on their race. Racial inequality is present almost everywhere, at work, at the bus stop, even in schools, and in many more places too. Although laws in the past have tried to eliminate racial inequality, those acts still don't prevent the ever-growing problem. An example of a law in the past would be the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It undoubtedly helped get rid of racial inequality, but was unable to eliminate it completely. More acts and policies, such as the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, still need to be made and revised to effectively ban racial inequality once and for all. As Abraham Joshua Heschel, a prominent philosopher of the 20th century, once said, "Racism is man's greatest threat to man, the maximum amount of hatred for a minimum of reason." Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have an absolutely amazing day.
Bye!